Good day, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Molnar here. Thanks for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather Wintry Edition. We'll also take a look at the tropics. I am not going to forget about all of you into the Atlantic, Caribbean, and Gulf of Mexico. As you can see, there's not a whole lot to talk about this time of year. You can see we got a few waves out here, maybe a few showers. There is something that may be brewing into the Gulf of Mexico as far as low pressure. I'm not expecting anything tropical to develop, but there is something that I'm going to take a look at wintry-wise that could be coming up towards, say, right around December 5th and 6th here. This encompasses the Great Lakes and parts of the Ohio Valley. We will have an area of low pressure that will be coming down from the Midwest and the Great Lakes, and this could actually produce some areas of snowfall here across the Ohio Valley and the Appalachians. And come early next week for Monday and Tuesday, could we be looking at a heavy snow scenario that could drop significant accumulations of 6 or more inches across northern New England, northern New York, and southeast Canada. And our next storm behind that on December 5th, could it be spreading a swath of heavy snow from Michigan down through Ohio, southwestern Pennsylvania, and eventually parts of the Appalachians here as we head into Monday and especially Tuesday? We'll get into all the details. Let's get into it. All right, so we're starting off here with the European model, and we're transition over to the GFS. That low pressure heading away from Texas, that's going to be pushing up here towards the Ohio Valley as we head during the day on Friday. So we're going to be breaking out the rain showers here across much of the Northeast into the Ohio Valley, Eastern Great Lakes. On the northern fringe here, there could be some snowflakes, some accumulation, especially here on the backside as well. We'll get into that with the GFS precipitation depiction. You can see that first area of low pressure heads up across the Northeast weekends by 7 a.m. on the weekend here. So this is on the 3rd. This is by Sunday. You can see our next areas of low pressure here, dual area of low pressure coming up through the Mississippi River Valley. We're going to be looking at that. Look at how quickly that develops as we head through the day on Sunday. Rain showers will be starting out here across parts of the Ohio Valley into the Northeast. So another push of rain. This will be a change to wet snowflakes on the backside and I'll show you that here on the GFS. This all will be changing to snow with some lake enhancement off Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. So later on in the weekend into early, say Monday here, we could be looking at some wet snow here across the Northeast. Now, as we get into the Pacific Northwest, you can see there's going to be quite a bit in the way of weather heading in here. So mountain snow, valley rain. As we continue to head out in time here, that bombs out over here towards Nova Scotia as we head towards Monday and Tuesday, towards Newfoundland there. Here is our next system that I wanted to talk to you about. Now, here's that thing in the Gulf of Mexico. That's going to potentially start our next area of low pressure. We'll have to see how this affects the Eastern Gulf here, but all eyes are on this system here, this big area of low pressure that will be heading from the Midwest, the plains, and then south towards the Appalachians. This is probably going to be our focal point for the snowfall. You can see here on December 6th at 7 a.m., this is heading southward across, the Carolinas and Virginia. Snow breaking out all across the Appalachians and the Ohio Valley into western Pennsylvania here. And as we continue to go out in time, this kind of merges with a coastal low developing, but the European doesn't really produce too much with this, although this precipitation back here, we'll have to verify it on the GFS. It looks like a lot of this will be falling in the form of snow, so this could get rather interesting here as we continue to go out in time. And that kind of bombs off the coast. Next little clipper here into the Northeast. North America, most of Canada for that matter, is looking pretty quiet with the exception for southern Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland here, where we'll continue to get pummeled with systems as well as the west coast of Canada here. So the GFS here, our precipitation depiction here. What is going on with it? Well, here that low across Texas, that's creating a lot of snow here in the Four Corners region as well. So you've been getting a lot of rain here across Texas, parts of Oklahoma. That's going to be lifting up here as I showed you onto the European model. Heading right up through the Ohio Valley, rainfall for your TGIF from the Ohio Valley into the Northeast. And as you can see by 7 p.m. Friday, there it is. There's some wet snow from northern Missouri all the way up into southern Wisconsin, parts of central Michigan, and then up here into northern New England, southern Ontario, Quebec. Now, there's a high pressure holding really tough. You can see it here across southern Ontario and Quebec. That's going to keep that system kind of smushed towards the U.S.-Canadian border here. Now, out west, we got that next system moving in. Big time storminess here across western Canada and the Pacific Northwest here. You can see mountain snow, valley rain, and that continues all the way down here into the Four Corners region. Another surge of moisture here on the southern end of this front that we saw into parts of the Gulf Coast region. Now watch what happens here as we continue to go on time. That area of low pressure winds up across New England as we head towards December 4th. Now, southern Ontario and Quebec, that puts you in the quadrant for getting, the heaviest snow into northern part of Maine and northern New Brunswick here. So this could get rather interesting. Now watch, this is that same low I showed you where the rain would be changing to snow. You can see it's marginal for accumulations, but lake enhancement off of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario as we head into Monday morning, December 4th here. So there it is on the backside, rain changing to snow. Here is our next system. Look at this burst of heavier snow towards Cleveland, Detroit. Could be having some pretty good accumulations for this time of year. This may end up being an advisory criteria event here, even into western Pennsylvania and New York here, as we head throughout December 5th and 6th. And a lot of this occurs throughout the night of December 5th into the 6th. Look how this heavy snow pivots towards Pittsburgh as we head towards 4 a.m. This is Tuesday. Yeah, this is actually Wednesday morning of December 6th here. So you could be having some pretty substantial accumulations here for this time of year. We're not talking about major in the foot or more, but you could have some advisory criteria, 3 to 6, 4 to 8 inches of snow. Too early to get into accumulations, but I'll show you here momentarily on the models here, bringing some snowfall here down in through parts of the Appalachians. Could we have wet snowflakes all the way down to North Georgia here? The Great Smoky Mountains National Park here, all the way up through eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina, West Virginia, Western Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, and continuing here into Ohio and southwestern Pennsylvania as well. This is 10 a.m. on the 6th. Now look how it dives southward here. GFS kind of pivoting this low out pretty quickly here, so very little fanfare across eastern North Carolina, maybe a few showers on the GFS here. So the next system heading down across, we're going to see a lot of these clipper-type systems continuing to spin their way down here across the Great Lakes. They're a little bit more to the north this time of year. They're not bringing down, from the northern plains all the way down across the Ohio Valley like they normally do. Now, this area of low pressure here along the New England coast could start to get cranking up here towards December 9th and 10th. Look at that. That's something we got to keep an eye on because especially for eastern New England, Maine, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland here. Yeah, you could be getting in on the act of some heavy snow. Also out here into the Rocky Mountains, it's just remaining really active here. Look at here into Canada, though. Pretty well clear here as we head towards December 10th. Now, look what the storm track starts to do. We start to get those stronger storms ejecting out of the Colorado area. And this one heading up towards the Ohio Valley. This one looks a bit stronger with a lot of wintry precipitation on the northern edge. And that low heads inland here, as usual for this time of year. And there we see another lake effect kicking in behind it. So snowfall totals here on the European model. There it is across the west, Intermountain West, Four Corners region. And here from central Kansas all the way up through northern Illinois, central Michigan, southern Ontario. And there it is, as we head later in the weekend with that second area of low pressure. Look what we could be looking at here across northern New England here. This is the European model really blowing up that potential snowfall here into parts of the Northeast. So that's something we're going to have to keep a very close eye on here. Yeah, let's zoom in on that. Look at the Intermountain West, though, in the Cascades. That's in excess of 60 inches, especially the Cascades there. So here it is on the European model. I showed you the European model earlier. There it is. So this is actually early Monday. Look how fast, especially the mountains of the Adirondacks, northern upstate New York, the white and green mountains, especially of Vermont, New Hampshire, heading on up to Maine. And this is through early Tuesday. Look at that. So there it is through the mid part of the weekend. So you get this area across Michigan, central Michigan, 2 to 4 inches. Southern Ontario, 1 to 3 inches here. But the lion's share of this is falling. Look at that. So even the New York State Thruway here, if this verifies, some areas could be approaching 6 inches here. So we could have ourselves a storm developing here. But look at our European model here. It's not doing much here with our Ohio Valley situation. We have some accumulations here into the Appalachians, but not too much here with our Ohio Valley low. So here is that snowfall here on the northern fringe for your Friday. It's falling from central part of Kansas here all the way up through parts of Chicago, maybe a quarter to a half an inch of snow around Chicago, most of it to the west and northwest. Look at it where it bullseyes, though, close to 4 inches here, right in central Michigan. So total liquid equivalent precipitation here on the European model, you can see really pummeling the Gulf Coast region all the way up through, look at this. So let's just head through the weekend here. There it is, late weekend. We're taking it in 2 phases here. Pacific Northwest just getting pummeled here with system after system. Look at our Gulf Coast system down here, 3 to 5 inches. This here in some of the Cascades could be up to 6 to 8 liquid equivalent. Here are parts of the Mississippi River Valley up into the Midwest. A lot of this falling is rain. Northern fringe snowfall here, even on the northern fringe snow. But most of this is rain, about a quarter to half, maybe upwards of 3/4 of an inch there in the Ohio Valley. And here's our liquid equivalent. This falls mostly Friday into early Saturday. There it is. It's about a third to a half an inch on average here in most locations. Then the next surge, look at this, as we head into Monday and Tuesday. This is adding up to about, over a couple days, about an inch to an inch and a quarter here. So that we're just going to continue to pile these on as we head throughout next week. All right, so I think this is going to give us our best view. Here it is as we head through. There it is Tuesday, later Tuesday into Wednesday. There it is across the Appalachians. Snowfall, maybe measurable all the way down to the Smoky Mountains here of the Appalachians, and then look at here into Ohio. Widespread advisory criteria here into southwestern Pennsylvania, but look at West Virginia. The mountains of West Virginia could be approaching 9 to 12 inches here. And let's just take a look at that really quick here into the Northeast. There it is for Tuesday into Wednesday. This is what I'm focusing on here, right here. From Cleveland, northern Ohio, all the way down here into the Appalachians, here into southwestern Pennsylvania, even into southwestern New York here, but mainly this area, 2 to 5 inches, locally higher here across the, there it is, 9 to 12 inches, West Virginia. So precipitation depiction here on the HRRR. I want to go over your snowfall. There it is across the panhandle of Texas all the way through the Four Corners, getting some heavy snow back here. Now you can see you'll get some wet snowflakes here on the back ends of this in parts of the panhandle of Oklahoma, heading up through parts of central Kansas. There you can see as we head throughout the early morning hours of Friday. So it's going to be a very thin band of snowfall here. You can follow that all the way up through Cedar Rapids, just north of Detroit here in southern Ontario. But it's not going to be a very widespread area of snowfall. It's going to be just enough that you're going to get... Now look at here on the backside as we get towards 4 p.m. on Friday here. Look at this. That's some heavier snow on the backside here into eastern part of Iowa, northern part of Missouri, as this pivots towards the north, right up through central part of Michigan, southern Ontario, Quebec, brushing the northern part of New York, the St. Lawrence Valley, and then right up through Maine here and New Brunswick as we head into Saturday afternoon. So take a look at the upper air pattern using our European model. You can see lots of blocking up here in Greenland. However, there's a lot of ridging as we head into the weekend with those warmer temperatures here across the east. You can see by next week, though, towards Monday and Tuesday, when we're seeing that potential for that snowstorm across northern New England, southeast Canada, we'll see just how that unfolds. A big ridge is developing out west, but that's going to quickly be replaced by a trough as the ridge. So we have a ridge trough ridge here, or a trough ridge trough, as you want to call it. Here it is. So you can see the alternating effects here of these troughs and ridges. That means it's a very fast-moving pattern here. As we head into mid-December here, well, December 10th, technically, a big ridge develops across the west. But watch this. This is going to be most likely the wild card as we head into mid-December. And as we continue to watch this blocking going up here in Greenland, that's also going to become a key as well. So here it is on the CFS medium range climate model. This is right around the 11th and 12th. There's that big trough kicking across the east that lifts out to ridge a little bit towards the middle of the month, and then another big storm developing along the U.S. East Coast for the 16th. So yeah, this is the pattern we're in. It's a very active pattern, and it looks like we're going to continue. Look at this. This is Christmas week. Could we see a white Christmas for many people across the east? And the central states, we'll have to keep an eye on it, but it looks like a very stormy pattern as we head deeper into December. So for your tropical update here for the Atlantic, Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, let's start off with the European model here. Things look pretty quiet. You know, you just have a few clouds, some showers here in the southern Caribbean. Jamaica looks really clear through the Cayman Islands, Lesser Antilles. We do have an area of showers here with that little tropical wave down in here, Trinidad and Tobago, as we head towards December 3rd and 4th, 5th, and 6th next week. We'll have to keep an eye on this, but the wind shear is very strong this time of year. So look at these tropical waves. They kind of dive south, just south of Trinidad and Tobago, and really basically just fizzle out and get sheared apart over northern South America. Now, we got an area of low pressure here across the Yucatan Peninsula come late weekend into early next week. We'll have to keep an eye on that because look what happens with that. That starts to pivot towards the western and southwestern Gulf of Mexico here. It does combine forces with a little bit of eastern Pacific tropical moisture here. And look what starts to happen. There it is. It starts to head out over the central Gulf of Mexico, and it kind of merges with this frontal boundary here. So you might be getting some very wet weather here across parts of Florida as we head through December 6th and 7th. That kind of merges with that East Coast low, and on the backside where it'll actually be snow. So this is a time of year where tropics can kind of meet snowflakes, so to speak. But here it is as we continue to go in time. There's that big tropical wave showing up here on the European model. Here's the Lesser Antilles. There it is. So this might be your best shot at some, you know, very measurable rain here across the Lesser Antilles, Trinidad and Tobago towards December 7th and 8th. And you can see, look at the European model bringing the intertropical convergence zone here into the Lesser Antilles. So you might have some really good shots of rainfall here, but look at this high pressure building in well into the northern Caribbean here, providing you with that nice sinking air, those beautiful blue skies and those blue waters of the Caribbean. You cannot beat that this time of year. And look at that. The tropical waves continue to try to push in the direction of even Puerto Rico and Haiti and Hispaniola, Dominican Republic here, but making very little headway here as the intertropical convergence zone sinks to the south. Now, as we take a look at the GFS here in the tropics, there it is across the northern Gulf of Mexico. That is where the most heaviest rain is with the tail end of these frontal boundaries. Now, as we continue to go in time, this is the feature there's a couple features here. Here's the one December 6th around Trinidad, Tobago, the southern Lesser Antilles here. And there is the other one. Let's actually switch over. Not sure why I'm in precipitation depiction mode, but we can fix that. Here we go. So here it is. You can see it a lot more clearer on this. Across the Gulf of Mexico, let's just get a bird's eye view here. There it is. So this little area of low pressure, this could get rather interesting come next week, and it could surge some moisture here into South Texas and parts of the Gulf Coast region, even eastern parts of Mexico and the Yucatan Peninsula here. So high pressure building in across the southeast here. There is a tail end of a front here, so we'll have to watch for some showers here through Jamaica, Cayman Islands as we get into the middle to latter part of next week. Now, there is that area of low pressure. Let me just zoom out just a little bit so you can get a good vantage point. There's the Lesser Antilles. There is our potential tropical wave out here. Not going to develop this time of year, but there it is. It is battling a lot of wind shear. You can see it doesn't even make it to the Lesser Antilles as we go through December 11th and 12th here. It starts to dive towards the South American coast as the intertropical convergence zone sinks, essentially. So those showers never even really truly make it here into the Caribbean islands. And you can see the frontal boundaries really making it pretty far south. This is towards December 15th here. So my Caribbean viewers, what is rainfall looking like? Well, it doesn't look like a whole heck of a lot here. You can see Jamaica and the Cayman Islands staying pretty clear here through the forecast period, with the exception for Sunday towards the 10th. The eastern part of Jamaica might end up getting some heavier showers here as we continue to go in time. And then the east coast here of Central America from Nicaragua all the way up to Belize here might actually see close to 100 millimeters or 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. And here we go across the Eastern Caribbean. You can see what's going on. Mostly dry, with the exception for the Central Lesser Antilles, where we'll pick up about 40 to 60 millimeters of rainfall through Sunday here. Trinidad and Tobago getting in on the act as we head toward next Tuesday and Wednesday, picking upwards of an average of about close to 1 inch to 2 inches here But for the most part, these tropical waves will be heading into the northern part of South America. There it is here across the Bahamas. What's going on up here? Well, it looks like most of the heaviest rain will stay off the coastline north and east of the Bahamas, but, parts of the Turks, Caicos, all the way up to Nassau up here could see a generalized 10 to 20 millimeters. That could eke out over several days to amounting to just about a half to 3/4 of an inch. And don't go anywhere. I have plenty more weather in just a moment, but check out my affiliate here. Here are some awesome maps.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
Temperature-wise here, look at this for Friday. Yeah, this is where things get a little bit interesting. Cold air diving south across the plains and the Rocky Mountains here. Surge of warmth all the way up to the Ohio Valley. Close to 50 across most of areas of Ohio here, western, southwestern Pennsylvania. But watch this as we head into Saturday here. That surge pushes even further northeast. 60 in Pittsburgh, 55 there in Cleveland, 50s all the way up here into upstate New York and southern New England. That is kind of crazy. 70s here across Texas and 80s here in Florida. Look at this cold pool of air, though, diving down across the northern plains. Can you really call that cold, though? Well, relatively. But look at this, even into Sunday, we keep those warm temperatures. Now watch this into, well, here it is, Monday, December 4th. This is where things could get interesting across, especially northern New England. Now, south of the New York State Thruway, I don't think you have too much of a chance of seeing heavy accumulating snow, but north of the New York State Thruway, all the way up through southeast Canada, northern New England, I think you have a good shot at seeing at least advisory, maybe warning criteria snowfalls, especially as we head into Tuesday here. Look at that. You're well below freezing up here, and even you do start to see the temperatures tumble here across New York State, northern Pennsylvania. Cleveland's still a little on the warm side there for snow, though, 40 degrees into your Tuesday into Wednesday. Look what's going on here. Big surge of warmth again, holding on to some cold air here across the northeast, and the Intermountain West, Pacific Northwest stays pretty cold there. Extended outlook from our hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna, River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. Guess what? For TGIF, it will be rainy, but it'll wash all that grime and salt away. So get out there and take a nice drive. Nothing like taking a drive in the rain. Look at that, up towards 45 into your Friday night here into Saturday. Mostly scattered showers during this time frame. We're heading up towards the mid to upper 50s Saturday, so that's unseasonably warm. Saturday night into Sunday, we'll see the next surge of rain, especially during the afternoon hours of Sunday, probably picking up another quarter to a half, maybe 3/4 of an inch as we head into Sunday night, early Monday, before cooling down a little bit, mid-40s into Tuesday. Look at that. Heading back into the 30s, high 30s, but that's pretty seasonable for this time of year. Thanks for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Don't forget, my winter 2023-24 outlook is in a link in the description down below, also appearing right in front of you on the screen as well. So check that out. Facebook, MeteoMark, Twitter, @WeatherEastern, also Facebook, Weather Northeastern, and Hurricane Northeastern. Thanks for joining me. And don't forget, check out my affiliate link at Trilogy Maps below.